Last Sunday, I was looking through Ephesians 5 around the controversial verses regarding wives, submit to your husbands, husbands, love your wives. And that day I decided, you know what, let's not look at that today. Rather, let's look at the subsequent passage where it says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but rather bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. And so as I pressed into that passage, as we connected it to Colossians 3:21, regarding don't provoke your children, as well as we connected it to that, I then began to just reflect on those last two parts. What does it mean to raise a child in the discipline and instruction of the Lord? More specifically, what does that word discipline mean? Because instruction sounds a lot like teaching, and we have a lot of that in the church and in my life, so I feel like I'm more comfortable with. But what about that discipline part? And so I think there's two parts to this discipline, at least from my understanding of the word discipline. One is often a punishment for wrong behavior. And I think we see this in Hebrews 14, where it says where the author says something roughly like, my son, do not be discouraged when your father disciplines you, because he disciplines all of his sons, or things like that. And it even goes as far as to say, if he does not discipline you, then we are illegitimate children. And so I think part of it is punish wrong behavior, especially when children are young. But I think there's another part of it, which I never really got until I think in the last 2 years, when starting to talk about doing as Jesus would do, doing the same practices and the same habits as Jesus would do, doing the same spiritual disciplines. And this all comes down to the idea that discipline and discipleship are tightly connected. A disciple is learning the discipline of his or her master. And I think at the core of discipline is consistent practice, doing things that you can do with effort, a drill or habit, over and over and over again, until you're able to do things that you would not have been able to do at the very beginning. For example, if you asked me to ride a unicycle today, I probably would not be able to do it. But if I got into the habit of just practicing 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, I'm fairly confident I'd be able to learn how to ride a unicycle in the long term. In the same way, I think that if you asked me to not care about what my peers thought about me, I think I would not be able to do it today. But over time, as I engage in some habits such as associating with people who I would have previously thought would have lowered my social status, if I remind myself and I make a habit of not putting out disclaimers like, guys, I'm not really smart, but here are my thoughts, or yeah, those are some thoughts on that verse. In Ephesians, I think it's Ephesians 6, verse 3. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear about what your thoughts are on what it means for fathers to raise the children in the discipline and the instruction of the Lord. Okay, God bless you all.